So we have a nice starting point on our cabinet construction. There's obviously a lot more questions and a lot of things that I didn't show. In the construction section later in the course, I'm going to go deeper into a few of the topics, but for now this gives us a good basic understanding of where things are coming from, how parts know how big to be, and how they connect to other pieces. Now, for the next two videos, we're going to get into drawer boxes and drawer guides, because we have not discussed that. Early on, we made a drawer box material schedule, but we haven't made a drawer box construction. And you can see we actually have some weird things going on with there. Drawer guide showing through the top. So I'm going to close out of here. And we're going to go to assembly. And we're going to switch the toggle from assembly to drawer boxes. And the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to delete everything except Bloom Tandem and Bloom Tandem Interior. Okay, so back at the main screen, I'm going to go to assembly. And if it's on assembly, you have to switch it to drawer box in order to see your drawer box construction methods. And you might see several different constructions in your library. What I would do is delete everything except the Bloom Tandem and the Bloom Tandem Interior. If you want to wait and delete, that's totally fine. But basically what I want to do here is I want to make just a very simple butt joint drawer box construction that works with Bloom slides, and then I'll copy it and make that my rollout slide because there's no reason to answer all the questions for the drawer box and the rollout. And so what makes the difference between the drawer box is we have the style that says 5-piece drawer box, and on these it says rollout. Okay, so I'm going to get started with answering a few general questions, and then we'll go into a job and look how it looks. So in general, I'm just going to skip the cost and labor questions. That's for Bid Center. The very first thing we want to get into is the heights. Now I'm going to say 90 to 95% of people will use standard heights. If you do to fit using guide clearance, you just say that I want it to be a 1/2 inch clearance on top and whatever 1/2 inch on the bottom, and the drawer box, it might end up being 4 and 7/32 tall. I like to do standard heights. And then I just tell it from largest to smallest on how high a drawer box can be. And I like to do 1-inch increments. So let's say 12 is the biggest box that I want to build. I got 12, 11, 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, all the way down to, I think I'll do a 2-inch. I really like this because it just keeps your drawer report very clean. You know, you don't have weird increments on your height. Now, if you're machining like plywood drawer boxes, you might be less concerned about that. But if you're outsourcing your drawer boxes, more than likely you're going to be using this. So you just pick your largest box all the way down to your small, and you can go in whatever increments. You know, maybe you just want to go in 2-inch or 3-inch increments rather than every 1 inch, and that's up to you. Then we'll do depth clearance. This is what tells Cabinet Vision when to switch from a 21-inch drawer to an 18-inch or whatever increment we have. I've found that normally 7/8 or 1 inch is kind of the sweet spot, but you can play with that if you don't like where it's switching. Standard depths, similar to standard heights, this is what tells us that how deep of a drawer to be. And I'm going to delete what's in here. Bloom puts the stock Bloom boxes use kind of these weird measurements. I like to just go every 3 inches. And the other strategy that I like to use is I don't like when it automatically, if I make a 30-inch deep base cabinet, I don't want it to automatically put a 27-inch deep drawer box in there because the drawer guides are not really stock items, and I'd rather manually be in control of that. So what I like to do is for my main construction method, I start at 21. That way, no matter how deep the cabinet is, it's going to be a 21-inch deep drawer box unless I switch to my secondary construction method that allows it to go all the way up to 30. And this will make a little bit more sense as we get into the next video where we set up the drawer guides, because the drawer guides need to be set up the exact same as what we enter here. So for example, and you'll see it in the next video, but I don't want my guides to be allowed to go all the way to 30, but my boxes stop at 21 or vice versa. So whatever we put here, whenever we get into the drawer guide material schedule in the next video, we need to match it exactly to this. Okay, and then I'm just going to answer a couple questions here. I want to put a 1/2 inch gap below. And some of these, I don't think we're going to need a whole lot of these. Pretty much the only thing we need to do is down here in box connections. So I'm going to put 1/2 inch and a 1/4 inch, and I'm going to do a through dado so it goes all the way to outside. So this is the drawer box bottom going into the side. I'm going to put a through dado into the side, and then the actual drawer box side will go below the bottom a 1/2 inch. I'm gonna do the same thing here, 1/2 inch with a through dado, and 1/2 inch with a through dado. Okay, now it's gonna ask me how I want it to connect. So how does the door box back and side connect? We can make the side go all the way to the back, or we can make the back come all the way out. I think I'm gonna make the side go all the way to the back with no connection. So here's where, you could do a qualified blind dado, you could do a cabinho, you could do pre-drills, you could do a dovetail. All these are done through the connection manager exactly like the cabinet construction is. So like I said, I'm gonna do just a butt joint for now, but this is where back to sides, this is where we would pick a connection. It's gonna extend, the side is gonna go all the way to the box front, that's good. And I'm not gonna worry about the partitions, that's all good. So let's go look at this and see if we like it. So I'm gonna go into my room settings, and because I deleted some of my construction methods, you can see with this foreign, which we don't want to leave it on foreign. So I'll just save that. And let's put it on 5/8 maple, that'll be fine. Okay, and it's a little bit hard to see because all these case parts are in the way. If we go to section, modifications, hide parts, I just want to hide everything except the doors and drawers. And this just makes it a little easier to see in the 3D view. You can see we just have a butt joint going all the way through, and I like to hold the, I'm gonna make my back stop above the bottom, and I want the bottom to run all the way out to the back. That way I don't have to do that little notch thing. So I'm gonna modify the construction, and I wanna find the door box bottom to back connection. And the bottom will extend all the way out, and then I'm gonna get rid of the connection because we don't wanna put any dados here. Okay, so let's see how that did. There we go. So now my bottom's coming all the way out. Now you can see it's still trying to notch. We'll be able to disable that. In fact, my drawer guide in general is in the wrong place. In the next video, when we go to our guide schedule, we will set that up. Okay, so that's looking good. Now, let's save this as our system construction. And make sure, like I said, anytime you hit save a system, be very careful, make sure you replace the right thing. Okay, now we're gonna close out. And now here is where I want to copy this. And I'll just call it rollout Bloom Tandem. And then I'm gonna delete the old one. And like I said, I like to do this once I'm totally satisfied with my regular drawer box, then I'll copy this and change this to a rollout. And that way all of the connections are the same. Really the only new question is the rollout default type, which you'll be able to change this, at the cabinet level, but that's the one question that when you switch the style, you will need to come in and tell it how tall to be. Okay, so that's the construction method, and like I said, there's a lot of different ways of doing drawer boxes, but that's just like the cabinet, just focus on one thing at a time, do it inside of a job so you can see what's working and what you need to fix. Okay, so now in the next video, I want to get into the drawer guide schedules, and that's very important that lines up with the drawer box construction, like I mentioned. So let's get into that.